How one person changed our entire family dynamic, and what happened next taught me more about love and acceptance than 30 years of parenting ever could. I was standing in my kitchen on a Tuesday evening, stirring pasta sauce and listening to my daughter Emma vent about her college roommate situation when she casually mentioned bringing someone home for Thanksgiving. "Her name's Alex," Emma said, scrolling through her phone while sitting at the kitchen island. "She doesn't have anywhere to go for the holidays, and I thought maybe we could invite her. She's been having a really tough time with her family situation." My name is Linda, and I've been hosting Thanksgiving for our extended family for 15 years. 23 people around tables arranged throughout our house, with my famous stuffing recipe and enough pie to feed a small army. Adding one more person seemed simple enough. "Of course," I replied without hesitation. "The more the merrier. What's her major?" Emma's face lit up. "Psychology, like me. She's actually the smartest person in our program. Professor Martinez says she has graduate school potential, maybe even PhD track. And she's been helping me with statistics, which I struggle with." Over the next few weeks, Emma mentioned Alex more and more frequently. How Alex had helped her study for midterms. How Alex had the best taste in movies. How Alex was teaching her to cook actual meals instead of surviving on ramen and energy bars. "She sounds like a wonderful friend," I told my husband Robert one evening after Emma's third phone call that week about something funny Alex had said. "Emma's never talked about anyone this much, not even her high school boyfriend." Robert looked up from his newspaper. "Think there's more to it than friendship?" I paused, considering the possibility. Emma had dated a few people in high school and her first year of college, but never seemed serious about anyone. She'd always been focused on her studies and her future career goals. "Maybe," I admitted. "But she hasn't said anything, so I'm not going to push." The week before Thanksgiving, Emma called with a request that should have been my first real clue that this wasn't just about bringing a friend home for dinner. "Mom, could you maybe not mention politics or religion at dinner this year? Alex has been having some issues with her family about those topics, and I want her to feel comfortable with us." I assured Emma that we'd keep conversation light and focused on gratitude, good food, and family traditions. My sister Janet would probably make some comment about young people these days, but I could manage the conversation flow to avoid controversial topics. "Also," Emma added, her voice getting softer, "Alex might seem a little quiet at first. She's not used to big family gatherings. Her family is, well, they're not very accepting of differences." That comment stuck with me for days. What kind of differences would make a family reject their own child? I found myself wondering about Alex's background and what could have caused such a rift with her family. Thanksgiving morning arrived with the usual chaos of prep work and early arrivals. My mother-in-law came at 9 a.m. to help with the turkey, followed by my brother's family with their 3 kids who immediately took over the living room. By noon, the house was full of overlapping conversations, football commentary, and the familiar din of our annual gathering. Emma's car pulled into the driveway just as I was taking the dinner rolls out of the oven. Through the kitchen window, I watched her get out of the driver's seat and walk around to the passenger side. A tall figure emerged from the car, someone with shoulder-length dark hair, wearing jeans and a simple blue sweater. They walked toward the house together, Emma carrying a covered dish and gesturing animatedly about something. Alex nodded and smiled, but I could see tension in her posture, the way she stayed close to Emma's side as they approached the front door. The doorbell rang, and I wiped my hands on my apron before going to answer it. Emma bounced through the door first, giving me a quick hug before turning to gesture to her companion. "Mom, this is Alex. Alex, this is my mom, Linda." Alex stepped forward with a nervous smile, extending her hand for a handshake. "Thank you so much for inviting me, Mrs. Peterson. Emma's told me wonderful things about your family." Her voice was soft but clear, and her handshake was firm. She had kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses and seemed to be studying my reaction carefully, as if bracing for something. "It's lovely to meet you, Alex. And please, call me Linda. Come in, come in. Emma, take her coat. Alex, are you hungry? We've got appetizers in the living room." As we walked toward the family room, I noticed how Alex stayed close to Emma's side, scanning the crowd of relatives with what looked like careful assessment. Emma immediately launched into introductions, leading Alex around the room to meet everyone. My family welcomed Alex with typical Midwestern friendliness, questions about school, compliments on her sweater, offers of drinks and snacks. She responded politely but briefly, clearly more comfortable listening than talking. During the introductions, I noticed something that made me pause. When my brother Mike asked Alex about her major, she lit up and started explaining her research on family dynamics and support systems. Her whole demeanor changed, shoulders relaxing, voice getting stronger, hands moving as she described her studies. That's fascinating, Mike said genuinely. So you're studying how families adapt to change and challenges? Exactly. Specifically, I'm interested in how family acceptance or rejection affects long-term outcomes for individuals facing major life transitions. Alex's eyes were bright now, engaged in a topic she clearly cared about. Emma beamed at Alex's enthusiasm, and I realized this was probably the most Alex had spoken since arriving. Dinner proceeded smoothly, with Alex sitting between Emma and my youngest nephew, who immediately started asking her about video games. She knew enough about gaming to hold up her end of the conversation, which delighted 12-year-old Tyler. About halfway through the meal, my Aunt Carol, who never met a personal question she wouldn't ask, leaned across the table toward Alex. So dear, tell us about your family. Where are you from? What do your parents do? The change in Alex was immediate and stark. Her fork stopped halfway to her mouth, her shoulders tensed, and she glanced quickly at Emma before looking down at her plate. I'm from Ohio originally, she said quietly. My parents, we don't really keep in touch anymore. The table went awkwardly quiet for a moment. I could see Emma's protective instincts kicking in, her body language shifting to shield Alex from further questioning. Well, you're part of our family today, I said firmly, raising my wine glass. To new friends and chosen family. Everyone raised their glasses, and the moment passed, but I noticed Alex's eyes were slightly watery as she lifted her glass. Emma reached under the table to squeeze her hand. After dinner, while the men watched football and the kids played in the basement, the women gathered in the kitchen for cleanup duty, our traditional time for catching up and gossip. Alex volunteered to help dry dishes, positioning herself at the sink next to Emma. So Alex, my sister Janet said while scraping plates, how did you and Emma meet? Are you roommates? We're in the same psychology program, Alex replied carefully. Emma's been really helpful showing me around campus and introducing me to people. That's nice. And you're both planning to be therapists. I'm more interested in research, actually. Family systems theory, trauma recovery, that kind of thing. My mother-in-law, who had been quietly organizing leftovers, looked up. That sounds like important work, dear. What got you interested in that field? Alex was quiet for a long moment, and I saw Emma tense beside her. Finally, Alex spoke, her voice soft but steady. Personal experience, I suppose. I've learned a lot about how families can either support you through difficult times or not. The kitchen went quiet except for the sound of running water and clinking dishes. I could feel the weight of unspoken story in Alex's words. Well, I said, breaking the silence, some of the best therapists and researchers are people who've lived through challenges themselves. They bring compassion that you can't learn from textbooks. Alex looked at me with surprise and something that might have been gratitude. Thank you. That means a lot. Later that evening, after most of the family had gone home, Emma and Alex were helping me put away the last of the dishes. Alex had relaxed considerably over the course of the day, laughing at my brother's terrible jokes and even sharing some stories from her college classes. Alex, I hope you'll come visit again soon, I said as I closed the dishwasher. You're welcome here anytime. Thank you, Mrs. Linda, she corrected herself. Today was really special for me. I can't remember the last time I felt this comfortable at a family gathering. Emma wrapped her arm around Alex's shoulders. See? I told you my family was cool. After they left to drive back to campus, Robert and I sat in our quiet kitchen, surrounded by the lingering smells of turkey and pumpkin pie. She seems like a lovely girl, Robert said. Bit guarded, but I can understand that if she's had family troubles. I think there's more to the story than we know, I replied. Did you notice how careful she was with certain questions? And how protective Emma was? Emma cares about her a lot. More than just friends, I'd guess. Over the next few weeks, Emma's phone calls home were full of Alex stories. How they'd studied together at the library until it closed. How Alex had helped her through a panic attack before a big presentation. How they'd spent last Saturday hiking at the state park, just the two of them. Emma's happy, I told Robert one evening. I haven't heard her sound this content in years. You think she's figured out her feelings yet? I think she's figuring them out. And I think Alex might be too. Emma called 2 weeks before Christmas break with a request that made my heart skip. Mom, would it be okay if Alex came home with me for part of winter break? She doesn't have anywhere to go for Christmas, and I hate the thought of her being alone in the dorms. Of course, I said immediately. She can stay in the guest room for as long as she needs. Thanks, Mom. You're the best. There's just one thing. Alex has something she wants to tell you and Dad. Something important. She's really nervous about it. My mind raced through possibilities. Was Alex sick? In some kind of trouble? Had something happened with her family that we needed to know about? Whatever it is, we'll listen with open hearts, I assured Emma. Alex is important to you, which makes her important to us. Emma's relief was audible through the phone. I knew you'd say that. I love you, Mom. Christmas break couldn't come fast enough. I found myself worrying about Alex, wondering what secret she was carrying that made her so nervous to share with us. I cleaned the guest room twice and stocked the pantry with foods I remembered her enjoying at Thanksgiving. They arrived on a Sunday afternoon in December, the trunk of Emma's car packed with suitcases and textbooks. Alex looked even more nervous than she had at Thanksgiving, fidgeting with her hands and avoiding direct eye contact. Welcome home, I said, hugging them both. Alex, I'm so glad you could stay with us. Thank you for having me, she replied, her voice tight with anxiety. I really appreciate it. We settled in the living room with hot chocolate, the fire crackling in the fireplace. Emma sat close to Alex on the couch, their shoulders touching. Robert asked about their finals, and they both relaxed talking about their classes and professors. Finally, during a lull in conversation, Emma took Alex's hand. Mom, Dad, Alex has something she wants to share with you. Something personal and important. Alex took a deep breath, her hands shaking slightly as she set down her mug. Mr. and Mrs. Peterson, Linda and Robert, I need to tell you something about myself. About my past and why my family situation is so complicated. She paused, gathering courage, while my heart pounded with anticipation. I'm transgender, she said quietly, the words hanging in the air between us. I transitioned during high school, which is part of why my family and I don't speak anymore. Emma knows, and she suggested I tell you because she hoped, you might understand. The room was completely silent. Alex's eyes were fixed on her hands, and I could see tears threatening to spill over. Emma's grip on her hand tightened. My first thought wasn't shock or confusion. It was heartbreak for this young woman who had been carrying this fear of rejection, who had been bracing herself for our disapproval. Alex, I said gently, moving from my chair to sit on the coffee table directly in front of her. Thank you for trusting us with something so personal. She looked up, surprise flickering across her face. Your being transgender doesn't change anything about how we feel about you, Robert added, his voice warm and steady. You're still the same person who helped Emma with statistics and charmed Tyler with video game knowledge and made our daughter happier than I've seen her in years. But I understand if you need time to process, Alex said quickly. I know it's a lot to take in, and I completely understand if you have questions or concerns about Emma and me spending time together. Alex, I interrupted gently. Stop. Breathe. You don't need to apologize for who you are or give us permission to reject you. Emma was crying now, tears of relief streaming down her face. I told you they were amazing, she whispered to Alex. Over the next hour, we talked openly about Alex's experiences, her transition process, the challenges she'd faced, her family's rejection, her fears about dating and relationships. She was articulate and thoughtful, clearly having processed her experiences through years of therapy and self-reflection. My parents couldn't accept it, she explained. They kept insisting I was confused or going through a phase. When I started hormone therapy at 18, they cut off contact completely. Said they didn't have a daughter anymore. My heart broke imagining this brave, intelligent young woman being rejected by the people who should have loved her most. Their loss, Robert said firmly. We see a remarkable young woman who's overcome tremendous challenges to become the person she was meant to be. And, I added, watching Emma and Alex's intertwined hands, we see someone who makes our daughter incredibly happy. That evening, after Alex had gone to bed in the guest room, Emma came to find us in the kitchen. Thank you, she said, wrapping us both in a fierce hug. I was so scared you might react badly, that you might not understand. Emma, we raised you to treat people with kindness and respect, I said. We're not about to change that now. Also, Robert added with a slight smile, it explains why you've been so happy lately. You're in love. Emma blushed deeply. Is it that obvious? To us it is. The question is, have you told Alex how you feel? We're taking things slow. She's been hurt so much by people she trusted. I want her to feel completely secure with our family before we figure out what we are to each other. Over the next 2 weeks of winter break, Alex became part of our daily routine. She helped with household chores, joined our evening walks, and spent hours talking with Robert about her research interests. She had a dry sense of humor that matched our families perfectly, and her knowledge of movies led to several great Netflix debate sessions. Most importantly, I watched Emma bloom in Alex's presence. My daughter, who had always been somewhat reserved and serious, laughed more than I'd heard in years. She was affectionate and playful in ways that reminded me of the little girl she'd been before adolescence made her self-conscious. 3 days before they were supposed to return to campus, I found Alex sitting alone on the back porch despite the January cold, wrapped in one of our heavy blankets and staring at the bare trees. "Mind if I join you?" I asked, grabbing my own blanket. "Of course not." She shifted to make room on the porch swing. We sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, the winter air crisp and clean around us. "I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop," Alex said finally. "For you and Robert to decide this is all too complicated, that I'm not worth the potential drama." "Alex, look at me." I waited until she turned to face me. "You are not too complicated. You are not drama. You are a young woman with a bright future who has become part of our family. Period." Her eyes filled with tears. "Emma's family is the first family that's ever accepted me completely. I don't want to mess it up." "You can't mess it up by being yourself. That's the whole point of acceptance, loving someone as they are, not as we think they should be." "My parents said they loved me, but only if I stayed the person they wanted me to be." "That's not love, Alex. That's conditional approval. Love doesn't come with terms and conditions." She was quiet for a long moment. "Emma wants to tell people we're dating. She's ready to be open about us. But I'm scared of how people will react, especially to her being with someone like me." "Someone like you? You mean someone intelligent, kind, funny, and devoted to her?" Alex smiled through her tears. "I mean someone who's transgender. Some people will judge her for being with me. Some people judge others for all kinds of ridiculous reasons. The people whose opinions matter will care about Emma's happiness, not who she's dating. And anyone who has a problem with you isn't someone we need in our lives anyway." When Emma and Alex returned to campus after winter break, their relationship status had officially changed. Emma called that first weekend, "giddy with happiness." "Mom, we're together." Like, officially together. I finally told her I was completely crazy about her, and she said she felt the same way but had been afraid to say anything. "I'm so happy for you both, sweetheart." Alex was worried you and Dad would feel differently about her now that you know we're dating, but I told her that was ridiculous. "You were right. Nothing changes except that now we have even more reason to love her. She makes you happy." Over the following months, Alex became a regular fixture in our family. She joined us for Easter dinner, helped Robert with a home improvement project, and spent a weekend teaching Emma and me to cook some of her favorite recipes. The more time we spent together, the more I understood what Emma saw in her. Alex was thoughtful and caring, with a deep well of empathy that made her an excellent listener. She remembered details about everyone's lives and always asked follow-up questions about things people had mentioned weeks earlier. She also had a wicked sense of humor that caught people off guard. Her dry observations about human behavior, refined by years of psychology studies, could have us all in stitches around the dinner table. But perhaps most importantly, I saw how she treated Emma. With complete devotion and respect. She supported Emma's goals, celebrated her successes, and provided comfort during stressful times. I watched my daughter grow more confident and adventurous under Alex's loving encouragement. The first real test came during spring semester when Emma brought Alex home for a weekend that coincided with my extended family gathering for my mother's birthday. The same aunt who had grilled Alex at Thanksgiving was there, along with cousins and relatives who didn't know about Alex's background or her relationship with Emma. I was nervous about potential awkwardness or inappropriate questions, but Alex handled everything with grace and Emma stood firmly by her side. When one cousin made an offhand comment about traditional family values, Emma calmly redirected the conversation to Grandma's amazing garden. After everyone left, Alex thanked me for including her in the family celebration. "I know having me there might have been complicated with some of your relatives," she said. "Alex, you're part of this family now. You belong at family celebrations. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me." She hugged me then, a real hug full of gratitude and affection. "I never thought I'd have this," she said quietly. "A family who actually wants me around." "Well, you do. We all love you, Alex. Not because you're Emma's girlfriend, but because you're you." As Emma and Alex progressed through their final year of college, their relationship deepened and matured. They talked about graduate school plans, career goals, and their future together with the kind of practical wisdom that impressed both Robert and me. Alex had been accepted to several top psychology PhD programs, while Emma was considering a master's program that would allow them to stay in the same city. They approached their decisions as a team, weighing options together and supporting each other's dreams. "I love watching them figure out their life together," I told Robert one evening. They're so thoughtful about how to build something lasting. They've both been through enough hurt to know what they want to protect, he replied. Emma found someone who understands her completely, and Alex found someone who accepts her unconditionally. The weekend of Emma's college graduation, Alex's parents unexpectedly reached out to her. They had somehow learned about her graduation and wanted to reconnect, claiming they were ready to accept her lifestyle choice. Alex was devastated by the contact, not because she was happy to hear from them, but because their language made it clear they still didn't understand or truly accept her identity. They still think being transgender is something I chose, like a career path or hobby, she told us tearfully. They want to reconcile with who they think I should be, not who I actually am. Emma was furious on Alex's behalf, but Alex was more sad than angry. I grieved the loss of my parents years ago, she explained. I can't go backward to a relationship built on them tolerating me rather than loving me. She declined their invitation to meet, instead focusing on celebrating her graduation with the family who had supported her journey. At the graduation ceremony, Robert and I sat with tears in our eyes as both Emma and Alex walked across the stage to receive their degrees. We cheered just as loudly for Alex as we did for Emma, and I felt proud knowing she had a family who celebrated her achievements. That summer, Alex was accepted to a prestigious PhD program while Emma enrolled in a master's program at the same university. They found an apartment together, officially starting their life as a couple with their own home. I'm so proud of both of them, I told my sister Janet during one of our weekly phone calls. They're building something beautiful together. It's amazing how Alex just fits into your family, Janet replied. She's like Emma's missing puzzle piece. The Christmas after they graduated, Alex gave me a gift that made me cry, a framed photo of our first Thanksgiving together, with a note that read, "Thank you for showing me what unconditional love looks like. You saved my life in ways you'll never know." Looking at that photo now, I can see the nervous young woman who walked into our house carrying the weight of rejection and fear. But I also see the beginning of healing, the first glimpse of someone learning to trust again. Alex didn't just change our family dynamic, she completed it. She brought out the best in Emma, added depth to our conversations, and taught us all about resilience and authenticity. She showed us that family isn't just about biology, it's about choosing to love and support each other through everything life brings. 2 years later, when Emma called to tell us they were engaged, my first thought wasn't surprise or concern about logistics. It was pure joy that two people who had found such deep love and partnership were ready to make it official. "Mom, I wanted to ask you something," Emma said during that call. "Would you help me plan the wedding? I want it to be perfect, but I also want it to be about both of our families, the ones we were born into and the ones we chose." "Of course, sweetheart. Let's make it a celebration that honors your love and the journey that brought you together." As I hung up the phone, I thought about that nervous young woman who had sat at our Thanksgiving table years earlier, carefully navigating questions and watching for signs of rejection. Now she was part of our family's biggest celebrations and everyday moments alike. Alex had taught us that love isn't about accepting someone despite their differences. It's about celebrating them because of who they are completely. She showed us that when you love someone authentically, you don't just change their life, they change yours right back. Sometimes the most profound family transformations happen not through dramatic moments, but through the quiet accumulation of understanding, acceptance, and daily choices to love without conditions. Alex didn't just join our family, she helped us become the family we were always meant to be. Thanks for staying with me through this journey of how one remarkable person transformed our understanding of love, acceptance, and what it truly means to be family. Sometimes the most important lessons come not from the people we expect, but from those who trust us enough to share their authentic selves.